Hello and welcome. So this is mostly a quick guide because the current rotation is actually very easy to do. So my more in-depth guide will be linked on screen as well as in the description when it's ready. I'll also include a brief text guide in the description, but it's basically my notes on what to do, your goal on certain phases, what your focus should be on, stuff like that. If you have any questions on what to bring, I have recommendations in the description. Although I might just make a Google Docs about it because it's going to be a lot of text mostly saying what is better than what and why. So in this example, I'll be using range. For beginners, range or mage is recommended, but I chose to go with range because of the ultimate dead shot. It's a really good ability. It's the same thing as Massacre, except it has a 30-second cooldown, which means that every time you have 100% adrenaline, it's pretty much going to be off cooldown. And it's one of those abilities where as long as you hit, the follow-up bleed damage will add up really nicely. So you'll notice that throughout the fight, my stats are going to be lowered from brewing, but I'm still able to hit fairly accurately. And that's because Araxxor has actually really low defense considering his combat level. So first off, there is only one spawn per world. This is a solo or duo boss only. You'll probably do solo. If the home world is taken, you can make an instance, but it will cost you 200k per hour. If you have a friend who can come hold the instance while you fight, you'll probably save like 1 mil over the course of the hour if you plan to do several attempts. So a little background on the fight. There are 3 paths. One path will always be blocked depending on the rotation. Rotations will change every 4 days, and you can only burn down 1 web. For beginners, I recommend burning down path 3 to the south in this particular rotation, as it doesn't require any direct combat, so as long as you stay calm, you will have more food left over. So first off, shoot off any ability at Araxxor, then use Anticipation right after to resist his special attack that is coming up. In this case, it was Cocoon. To break free, just click to move away or attack Araxxor. I didn't use Anticipation or Freedom, so I took a little more damage than I needed to. His next special attack will be random, but it won't repeat the last one he did. His swipe special is quite easy to dodge. He will pull you in and cleave targets directly in front of him, but you just have to move 2 steps away to avoid the damage. The downside is, if you get pulled in, it does hit familiars as well, so using Freedom or Anticipation ahead of time will stop Araxxor from being able to pull you in, saving your beast of burden from unnecessary damage. Also, turn off familiar options under game settings. I've seen many people misclick their familiar when they get pulled in. So Araxxor on phase 1 has 3 special attacks. We've seen the cocoon, we've seen the swipe. The last one is its web. A nice little trick you can do here is use snipe, wait for the projectile to leave your bow, and then swap to shield and resonance to reflect damage. Araxxor will drop a reflect web upon himself. If he doesn't take damage, he will heal himself 1000 HP every 1.8 seconds, 4 or 5 times total. It's usually not worth it to use normal abilities on him, rather you want to use something that does a little amount of damage over time, such as bleeds. Fragmentation shot for range, combust for magic. It'll stop Araxxor from healing up to 5000 HP, but it will reflect some of the damage back at you. Another way to apply a bleed over time more consistently is by using ultimates such as Death Swiftness for range or Sunshine for magic, although for those you have to be within 2 steps of Araxxor for the passive damage to apply. While fighting Araxxor, you want to be mindful of where your mouse is, where the camera is, and of course your ability cooldowns. I intentionally have Araxxor on the far left side of my screen. My inventory, prayer book, ability book are on the right side, and my camera angle is at an aerial view. So if I get pulled, I have a large area to the right to get away to avoid the swipe. So those are the 3 specials. They occur after every 5 auto attacks from Araxxor, which is a little over 10 seconds. So if you count properly, you can use them a few turns before Araxxor uses his special. And that's pretty much all the info for phase 1. He has 3 specials, using 1 special after every 5 auto attacks. It really helps if you can count to 5. He can't use his special attack that he used previously, and Araxxor only uses 1 combat style throughout the entire fight. In this case, he's using magic, so set your quick prayers accordingly, in case your prayer drops. You should do it before it gets harder. So do note that he can still use melee if you're melee distance to him, but it's random which style he will use. For example, if he's maging and I'm, say, melee distance to him, it's mostly 50-50 if he would melee or mage me for each of his turn, or each of his attacks. So now that we've covered specials, throughout the fight you're looking to do as much damage as possible. You can camp a shield if you want to save food. It's not really necessary, as you can see here, but play it how you want. If you do camp a shield, bring an offhand with you, so when you do have 100% adrenaline, you can still swap to dual wield quickly to use Deadshot, and then swap back to shield after you've cast the ultimate. Bleed damage over time will still apply, but with the power of the offhand as well, even though you swap back to shield. If you want to save even more food, the Threshold Debilitate is amazing to use. It doesn't require shield to use, although with a shield, the effect does last longer, but it's still not needed. You'll see the Debilitate debuff under his HP. Reflect is another good one. It does require shield though, but it gives the buff to you, so Reflect can't miss, whereas Debilitate can. Debilitate can miss, since Debilitate is used on the target. It depends if it hits or not. Devotion is also very good, but I don't think everybody has that. For those who don't, you can get it from God Wars, but it's really, really rare. For your first kill, you probably don't need it, but if you plan to camp this boss for quite a while, it's a really good thing to have. So after about 4 minutes, Araxxor is closing in on 0 HP. You can't kill Araxxor until later, but your goal for phase 1 is to get Araxxor as low as possible. Anything under 5k HP is fine. Once you're ready to move on, head into the tunnel that you burned down. Any leftover HP would be passed on to phase 3, but only half the amount. So say Araxxor had 100k HP when you entered the tunnel, that would mean on phase 3, Araxxor would have a bonus 50k HP. Half of 100k. But the problem with that is on phase 3 he attacks 1 tick faster per auto attack. So for phase 1 you want to get him as low as possible before you move on to phase 2. For most of phase 2 you won't really be in direct combat. Your goal for now is to just prayer switch the attacks coming at you. Green is magic, brown is ranged, and finding the light spots to stand in so that you don't take damage from the darkness. Araxxor will periodically send firebombs after a couple range or magic attacks. At the same time, he will spawn spider eggs, and if you stand next to the eggs, when the fireball lands, it will kill all the eggs right away, but will also increase Araxxor's rage by around 4%. The more rage Araxxor has, the more damage he does, and you can track this by hovering your mouse over the red skull icon at the top. Now, if you choose not to lure the firebomb onto the eggs, you'll take full damage from the firebomb, but Araxxor won't be enraged. But since the fire did not destroy the eggs, around 2 or 3 spiders will spawn, and it's highly advised that you kill them. If you have the ability Sacrifice, you can last hit them with the ability to heal the full damage. So right here, you want to use your directional keys towards where his front legs are attacking from. So for this one, the answer is to the right. If you choose correctly, Araxxor will hit the wall for 50% wall health. But if you get it wrong, Araxxor will only damage the wall for 25%, and you'll take 2500 damage. You need to get the wall down to 0% for you to move on to the next phase. So if you do this correctly, it only takes 2 rams to move on to the next phase. You actually get a lot more time than it seems. So just be calm, make sure you get it right, or else you're going to be in the darkness for a whole extra minute. So there is really no advantage for being below 100% HP unless you want to use Resonance on the range or magic attacks. But otherwise, just save up because you won't be fighting Araxxor directly on this phase. Since you won't really be panic brewing, you can keep your fingers on the arrow keys for when you get Araxxor's quick time event. You'll get a message around 10 to 20 seconds beforehand telling you that he is preparing to charge. Also, when running between lights, think logically. Get ready to use Surge if needed, like say the light spot's really, really far away. And before the lights change, keep track of where you are. Look towards the shorter end, so that when the lights do change and you don't immediately see it, then you know for sure that it's on the other end, and so that way you don't have to backtrack. When you're in the light, you can think ahead. Be prepared to move when the light changes, but also think about what distance is acceptable if Araxxor sends a firebomb at you right now. Would burning the egg be worth it, since the darkness can go up to 450 damage per 2 ticks, and tanking the firebomb only deals 3000 damage. You'll have to judge if the eggs are close enough to tank the damage, or to just leave and find the next light spot. Generally, if it's within like 5 squares of your light spot, it's fine to run to, once the bomb gets closer, of course, because in this particular phase, it takes a little longer for the firebomb to actually hit you. So right now, if you haven't noticed, I'm doing very, very bad. This was my second attempt, and you may notice that sometimes I choose not to run the firebomb into the egg so that Araxxor's rage doesn't go up. It would only go up by like 4% if I ran it into it, but that might not seem like much, but he'll be attacking faster on the next phase. So if you do the first 2 quick time events from Araxxor, you will be able to move on to phase 3. But the answer to this one is down, when he has his 2 legs pointing downwards, or like together. The left and right quick time events are pretty straightforward, but up and down are not. I'll be trying to make GIFs of the quick time events to show you how they look like. Now that the wall is down, we can move on to phase 3. Araxxor will have a health buff icon at the top of the screen showing you how much health he will heal. This amount is equal to half his health that he had remaining from the first phase. Araxxor gains the special attacks from the paths that are open, so for the rotation in this video, we have Darkness from Path 3 and the one-hit spider from Path 2. Araxxor follows the same 5 auto attacks between the specials that he did on phase 1, so mostly be afraid of swipe special. Make sure you do the thing where Araxxor is on the left side of your screen, your click area is on the right, so that you don't accidentally click on him when trying to run back, because when Araxxor does his swipe, his click radius is actually increased to where he's gonna hit, which is a common thing for people to mess up on. Araxxor will be attacking faster than before compared to phase 1. On phase 1, he was attacking the same speed as a whip, which is once every 2.4 seconds. On phase 3, he is attacking 1 tick faster. He's attacking once every 1.8 seconds, the same speed as you can cast ability. So your main goal for now is to just DPS Araxxor down while being very cautious of his special attacks. So just stay calm and count to 5. He has 100k HP. Once he hits 0, you'll move on to the next phase. That's the only requirement to move on. Araxxor hitting 0 HP. You'll notice that Araxxor is spawning highly acidic spiders, the total of which depends on what path you actually take. Path 3 will get 4 highly acidic spiders, Path 2 will only get 1 to 2 highly acidic spiders, but there's more direct combat in that. So I have yet to figure out this mechanic with the highly acidic spiders. I know that if you lure them now into Araxxor, he will gain 10% rage per spider lured into him, as well as heal 5000 HP, but if you don't touch them at all, they just teleport around the room, and they don't even hurt you during phase 3, which is strange because then what's the penalty for not luring them into him right away? So that makes me wonder what they actually do, because there's clearly something I'm missing here. I know if you don't lure them at all and move on to phase 4, the boss will absorb them either way, gaining the same amount of rage that he would have gotten if you lured them into him on phase 3. So I guess the difference is when Araxxor actually gains the 40% rage from the super acidic spiders, it's either Araxxor gains 40% rage now, either at the start of phase 3, at the end of phase 3, or on phase 4. So there must be something you can do between phase 3 and phase 4 to stop Araxxor from being able to absorb the 40% rage from the spiders, but I haven't figured that out yet. But it'll probably be in the full depth guide by the time I'm done. This is mostly just a quick guide because the current rotation is very, very easy to do. Okay, the last thing is the special attack Araxxor gains from Path 2. I'll have to do a cut edit to it since surprisingly it didn't happen this kill. Although it's quite simple really. Get to know Araxxor's auto attack animation. For the one-hit spider, Araxxor will interrupt his auto attack to slam his 2 front legs onto the ground in front of him and then spit the one-hit spider into the floor. This is very different from his normal auto attack animation, so you might notice it from that. If you don't notice it, like say you were panic brewing and you missed it when he slammed his 2 legs into the ground, you can take notice of the hit splats. He will have stopped his auto attack to send the spider out, so if you notice that you stopped taking damage for a couple seconds and he didn't use any of his other specials, quickly look around the floor if you missed where the one-hit spider lands. If you can't find it right away, just assume the worst. Assume that it's about to come out and just run far away from where you are, maybe like to the other side of the room. Remember, it's better safe than sorry, because that one-hit spider gets you at the worst time. The one-hit spider will surface after about 10 seconds after it lands on the floor and walk towards you. If it reaches you, it will kill you. But the upside is it walks, so you can outrun it, but don't surge past it. From what I'm told, if your surge passes through it, it will still kill you. I'm not sure if that's intentional or not, but just play it safe. You're almost there. For the sake of time, I'm gonna speed up the rest of the phase. Nothing is really different than the first half. You count to 5, be ready to avoid a special attack. His specials include his Reflect Web, you can snipe then shield swap to resonance the damage back. There's his Swipe attack, which keep Araxxor on your left side of the screen, space to move back on your right side of the screen, so you can just move 2 steps back to avoid the swipe damage. Might still hit your familiar though. There's his Cocoon attack, which doesn't happen often enough for me to worry about, so there's that. His darkness attack, simply just stand on the light spots if it's within running distance. If it's not, just tank it out and just keep dealing damage because you want to move on to the next phase. And his last special is the one-hit spider, which you can just run away from and you're fine, since the one-hit spider only walks. So once Araxxor is finally 0 HP, you'll get a small cutscene of jumping the pit. Try to cut out of the cutscene if you can by brewing up, eating something, just anything to get out of the cutscene, because you're gonna lose a lot of adrenaline throughout the cutscene. I think you lose around, 60-80% if you just go through, and your adrenaline's just gonna keep on dropping. So for the last phase, you can treat this first part like Jad. If you're a range distance away from Araxxor, Araxxor will only use magic or range. Araxxor is unmovable from her spot. You can't run under her, so you can't really make her bleed more. But she can still pull you in when she does her swipe attack. She also has the ability to use her other specials such as Darkness, Cocoon, and Web Reflect. Using Anticipation and Freedom will stop her from pulling you in when she uses Swipe, but that really isn't too important on this phase, unless you're trying to save your yak. But my yak's pretty empty right now, but it doesn't matter as much for me. Araxxor has the ability to use Darkness. When it goes dark, if the light spot is on the other end of the room, it is not worth running to. By the time you reach the light spot, the darkness effect will be over. If the light spot spawns too far away, your focus should be on properly prayer switching and staying healthy. Araxxor will always use magic if you're far away. However, if you're praying magic, she will switch to range. Her range projectiles are rather slow, but then her mage projectiles are a lot faster than her range one. So when you pray magic, don't swap to range pray right away until the range projectile is a little closer to you. This way she does 2 range projectiles in a row. It makes it a lot easier to prayer switch. This, of course, makes her attacks predictable since she either always uses magic or uses range only if you're praying magic. I highly suggest having your prayers on your ability bar so you don't have to move your mouse as far when moving between your food and your prayers. It just lowers the chance of misclicking. Your goal for now is to just prayer switch while dealing damage. You just have to survive until later in the fight. You could camp a shield if you wish. Prayers are only partially effective. They deal somewhere under 1,000 per auto attack through prayer. But after each ability, you should sip a brew or heal up if you need to stay as high health as possible. There's really no benefit for being low. And your stats, Shiria has pretty low defense where brewing a little won't matter that much. But of course, restore your stats when needed, because it's going to get harder later. Now we're closing in on 50k HP. The reason I have a mix of brews in my inventory and sharks in my yak is because brews can heal you without draining your adrenaline. It lowers your stats a little, but Araxxor already has low defense where it doesn't matter as much compared to other bosses. Once Araxxor is at 50% HP, she becomes enraged. What that means is she'll no longer use specials, she'll only use auto attacks. Run melee distance to Araxxor, pray melee or magic, turn walk on. While melee distance, she will only use melee or magic attacks, but it's random which one she does. The reason I suggest this for beginners is so that you don't have to juggle prayer switching later. Okay, so your first goal after 50k HP is to reach Swift Deafness. Another reason I'm so close is for the passive damage over time from the ultimate. After using your ultimate, sip a brew after each ability. It'll heal you, but it won't drain your adrenaline. Your next goal after your ultimate, and this is very important, is to reach rapid fire before Araxxor hits 25k HP. When Araxxor hits 25k HP, you'll lose a flat 50 adrenaline, and she will summon a putrid acid wave, which is very similar to the core from the corporeal beast. Once the core is out, you'll have to keep on moving. Continue to brew after each ability. Remember, you can rocktail brew if you really need to get your HP up there. What I'm doing here is move first, eat a shark, use an ability right after I click to eat, then spam click to move around Araxxor and repeat. This way you're always moving, you're still doing damage, and you're staying healthy. Now, remember, you're unable to move under Araxxor, which is good. It means that as long as you click on the opposite ends or the sides, you'll always stay melee distance to Araxxor. Which, if this is your first time, prayer switching might be kind of hard to do between all the stuff you're juggling right now. And then you just have to repeat this, move, eat, use an ability right after, keep doing this, you'll keep on doing damage. Eventually, she'll die. Hopefully she dies first, not you. Now, I can tell you to stay calm. You won't, but still. Yeah. Okay, so Now some extra information. Oh, Araxxor's already dead, but yeah. So if the core does end up hitting you, it'll do persistent damage like the core from the corporeal beast. But the difference is that when you move away, the putrid acid will bounce randomly for 5 times and then chase you again. So after you move away from the core damage, you have a 6-second window where you can just stand still and catch up on healing prayer, healing health, and just continue to do damage. But your number one goal, no matter what, is to just survive. If you feel you're not getting the motion right, just stop using abilities for a few turns just so that you can get back into the motion and get it right. Because it's really easy to mess up this motion where you might use an ability and then you might be clicking forward, but then if you click forward right after you use an ability, like right after, you're going to cancel the ability. You might get adrenaline for it, but then it doesn't actually hit the target. So I would highly suggest trying this on dummies and Lumbridge first to make sure you get the motion right. And then once it feels right, once you have it in your muscle memory, then the last phase should go pretty smoothly. Oh, also, I'll have just extra information in the description about Araxxor. Most probably won't really matter to know. Some may be good to know, like after 25k health, Araxxor gains 5% rage with each auto attack, which is why you want to kill her as fast as possible after 25k health, because she only hits harder and harder as it goes on. So remember, this is a temporary guide. I'll have the full one out when I'm confident I can answer any and all questions related to this boss, as well as hopefully demonstrate it in gear similar to this. So thank you very much for watching and have a nice day.